Hey, DOT community. This is another episode of Titan Review with Zalon and Arch Stanton, Charge and Flanking Special Edition. How we doing today, Arch?
Very good, Zalon. How you doing, buddy?
Not too bad, not too bad. Excited for the special edition. So, again, we will start off, as always, with one of Arch Stanton's memes. Here we have one of his most recent works of art. We have Panthers will have the last laugh on you, Mr. Loki, with the sweet black panther here that we see. That's pretty awesome. So, but gotta love Loki. All right, so we're gonna jump out. We're gonna take a look at two different Titans that have to deal with specifically the charge and flanking damage that we're going to be discussing. Will be dealing with the Panthers. So the first Titan we're going to be looking at will be Ladoga. This is going to be one of Arch Stanton's builds, level 24 Ladoga. And if you want to start going over the skills here, Arch, go ahead.
Sure. So this is my own Titan. The Kamati we do next will be my Titan also. What I'm going to do here, and the relics also are relics that I own, just to put that out there to start. So, start with the charge damage for skill 1. I got lightning resist, which is interesting, and panther armor piercing, ice resist, and another charge. So that gives me a total of 150% charge damage. And I will be going into charge right after we go through the relics. So, on this one, we have the Stormbringer. I'm lucky enough to own this. A very nice relic for basically most rangers. And I have the Great Plague that also has the Panther troop skills, which has Panther damage and armor piercing, and gives a Titan boost for damage. Bitter Dirk's very important. It's basically a go-to relic for any poison build. Tainted Bow also, Tainted Blade, and I finished it off with a Mount to Armor. So, at the end of the day, the tallies for this, armor's a little low at 35%. I'm okay with that. Armor piercing at 216, happy with that, and critical at 65. Now, we're going to get into charge damage and how it works. So with Panthers, overall, there are 4 different triggers. You have your charge, flanking, critical, and rear damage. I'll get into rear damage right now, just to start it off and put it away, basically. Rear damage is when you hit troops from the back. You can set this off by accident, basically, when you're raiding, or in tests that I've done, you can put a terror spell on a troop, basically have your troops go and hit them in the back, and you will have 3 times damage. And that's another thing, 3 times damage for all these triggers. So they're very important in the game, and especially for Panthers. So I'll get into charge damage. Now, charge damage, I call it the lazy man trigger. Charge is basically when you target any troop, you're going to be in charge damage, or charge will be triggered. So what will happen is, when you have a troop, you tap on an enemy troop, you have a red line, you're in charge. It's triggered already. So it's very, very, very easy to control. So when you're basically wanting to do a raid where what you want to do is go from one troop to the next troop to the next troop with your targeting. Because these triggers are all based on how you target. So imagine you're basically looping, hitting troops, and throughout that process, you're going to be going through your charge and hitting 3 times damage, which is really, really cool. And also, when you have 150% added to your base damage, it is a very OP skill. Now, through tests that I've done, there are some funny numbers that are coming up that have increased damage. That's all I could really say about it. So, very good skill to have. There's a big myth out there that it's not. It is. It is a very good skill to have. Okay. We can go on to the Kamati now.
All right, let's go to the Kamati. Take a quick look. All right, this Kamati is level 41, a little higher than my Kamati, so very nicely done. And let's take a look at the skills here. So go ahead.
I lost it. You're going to have to do it.
Oh, okay. Well, I got it. It's Panther's damage for the first skill, Panther's critical for the second skill, Panther's armor piercing for the third skill, flanking damage for the fourth, and flanking for the fifth. So pretty nice on all the different skills, especially getting 2 flanking damages as the last 2. So, besides from that, I also have the relics here as well. The Great Plague is first, Bitter Dirks is second, Tainted Bow is third, Tainted Blade is fourth, Mount Armor fifth, with the Resist Against Physical, and Bitter Dirks is sixth. So if you want to go over exactly why you chose these, go ahead.
So basically, with the skills itself, we'll start with the skills. The flank is going to be 162%, which again is a really OP skill.
At max, right?
Yes.
You're not currently at max. Yeah.
Pardon?
Because you're not currently at max. The way this is building out, it's not maxed out. But yeah.
Right. 162% maxed out, which is pretty neat. And I'll explain flanking and how you can trigger it. It's a little bit more difficult. It's not super easy. Charge is a better trigger to acquire and use, but flanking is really, really neat, and I'll get into that. But overall, with this Titan, we went with the Great Plague, obviously. You have the Bitter Dirks in there. It's basically a real simple build for a Kamati. And I'll get into the flanking. With flanking, there's a couple ways that you can trigger it. Now, the way I explained charge was that if you target a troop, you're in charge. Now, if you go past, like troop, when you press above a troop and basically go through them, your troops will go and pass through the enemy troops, and what will happen is you'll have some panthers that will stagger behind. So you've lost your charge trigger, but the panthers that are coming from behind, they'll kind of get stuck, and what will happen is you'll get some critical in that, you'll have some flanking in that, and that's through testing that I found out how that works. Another thing is people talk about tapping. Tapping is a way of triggering flanking. And what happens is when you're tapping on an enemy troop, what you're doing is you're retargeting all your panthers and telling them, hey, come over here. And what ends up happening is, imagine you're one person and you have a circle of 10 people, and you say fight. Well, they're all going to bunch up together, and this is what's happening with the panthers. You're telling them to target, and when they bunch up, some of them are going to be hitting from either the back or the sides, and you will trigger flanking. It's just the way it's set up. Now, also in another test that I've done is, and this is quite interesting, I had a Kamati being targeted by grenadiers. Okay, and what I did was I took about 10 panthers and took them from behind the Kamati and rode them all the way and hit this group of grenadiers from the side. And what I ended up doing through this test was I triggered flanking on every single panther.
Wow.
So, yeah, so what's happening is if the enemy troop is also distracted or, focused on another target, you can come in with flanking. Now, this is a very strategic maneuver. It's, in a non-strategic game in a way. That's the way I see it, because you cannot really set up your panthers to go and hit enemies from the side. It's almost impossible. So a lot of the flanking kind of is with luck or tapping. Now, I'll also talk about critical. Critical will also happen when you're tapping, because what happens is flanking, rear, flanking, rear, and critical. When you're tapping, what happens is you're engaging. And when you're engaging, that means you're basically in a melee fight. That's how I put it. You're engaged. And that's how the triggers will commence. It's hard to explain. A lot of people will have to go out and test it themselves.
Yeah.
But that's how it sort of works. Charges, you can charge from a distance, but when you're in close in a melee fight, you will trigger critical, flanking, and rear.
I was going to say, most of the time you see charge pop up on the screen quite often, whereas when you see flanking pop up, or especially rear attack pop up, it's a little bit more uncommon to see. And
right.
When it does pop up, though, you're usually fairly close to the battle and can see that,
Right, you're in the melee fight. You're in close combat when those three triggers happen.
Yep. So, okay. Is that pretty much, did you want to go over the relics here as well? I was going to say down here at the bottom.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course. I'm sorry, yeah. It's all right. Great Plague and the Bitter Dirks and the Tainted Bow, Tainted Blade, Mount Armor, and Bitter Dirks again, 3-star. I mean, you're looking at all, pumping the Panthers critical up. Some more armor piercing, of course. Now you have resist against physical. Was there a specific reason you decided to go resist against physical?
Just because that's what's dropping right now. Now, if you have a choice of something else, definitely put it on. Okay.
I was just going to say, because, of course, being the Mount Armor has 4 other choices, that would be, I would prefer something like poison or ice. But archers, obviously, that can be an issue, but not usually. They usually miss most of the time. Unless the Panthers have stopped. Yeah,
poison would be good.
Yeah. But also, too, here, looking at the more, of course, Panthers, armor piercing, critical. So, pretty much that's the whole gist of the whole Bitter Dirks, Great Plague, Tainted Bow. Just stacking as much armor piercing and critical on as possible.
Yeah, and you can change that out. You know what I mean? Like I may even change it out for some more armor. Maybe change something out and take out the armor piercing and put septic blade or another 3-star mount. It all depends.
Yeah. But and of course, critical being at just over 100, obviously on purpose. I mean, just being at 100, not trying. You're not trying to go way above and beyond. So. It's finding the perfect mix and match of relics to be able to work with the Titan that you have.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so that's pretty much everything that we have for Charge and Flanking Special Edition. So thank you for joining us. And, of course, we hope to come again very soon with another Titan Review episode. So for this episode, I am Zalon.
And Arch Stanton.
All right, and we will be back again very soon.